The new Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set is here along with 4 brand new Commander Precon. Now, normally I'd do a deep dive upgrade of these Commander Precons released, but each of them are really solid straight out of the box, just like the Warhammer 40,000 decks, which bodes very well for the Doctor Who Universes Beyond decks coming later this year. So what I've done instead is condensed my picks and upgrades down to a single video. This way you can get all of your deck upgrades all at once. Be sure to let me know in the comments which ones you've picked up. Let's start with the Hosts of Mordor, the Grixis deck led by none other than Sauron, Lord of the Rings. Our face legend is a massive 8-mana, 9/9 trampling avatar horror. On cast, we amass Orcs 5 and mill 5 cards, and reanimate a creature from our graveyards. And on top of that, when an opponent's commander dies, the ring tempts us. Whew! That is a lot of benefit from a single creature, and definitely worth 8 mana. Well, the deck comes packed with a few real banger reanimation targets like the Balrog of Moria and Cavern Horde Dragon. Most of the other things you're bringing back are pretty lackluster. The first thing I do is cut Goblin Cratermaker, the Mouth of Sauron, and Troll of Khazad-dûm. These guys are fine, but there are much better reanimation targets we could slot in their place. For thematic reasons, Witch King of Angmar is a great addition, being a no mercy on a body. But generically good targets work here too. Archon of Cruelty, Ancient Copper Dragon, and Ancient Brass Dragon are all good cards that could go in these slots. But simple cards like Solemn Simulacrum, Massacre Worm, and Sepulchral Primordial all make fantastic budget-friendly options that pack a massive punch. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the nasty options of Plaguebearer, Fleshbag Marauder, and Demon's Disciple. These are just great ways to make each opponent sacrifice a creature whenever you cast a spell. But if you want to splurge, free counterspells like Force of Will, Force of Negation, and Pact of Negation all allow you to protect Sauron and get his trigger without a mana investment. The free cast commander spells like Deadly Rollick, Deflecting Swat, and Fierce Guardianship are all amazing includes too, but they are all very, very pricey. Be sure to wait to pick these up until after Commander Masters releases later this year. Our next deck from the series is Riders of Rohan, a Jeskai colored deck led by Éowyn Shieldmaiden. There's a very distinctly human typal theme to this list, so let's take a look at our commander. Éowyn is a 5-mana 5/4 first striking human knight. She reads, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if another human entered the battlefield under your control, create 2 2/2 red human knight tokens with trample and haste. Then, if you control 6 or more humans, draw a card. Token Maker, Draw Engine, Beater? Talk about an all-around versatile commander. But she demands we make humans. While 28 of the 31 creatures in the deck are humans, it gets very expensive to cast them every turn. My recommendation would be to find ways to make human tokens without paying mana for them. I'd cut a few cards that don't really play into our theme or actively set us back. Earthquake is a board wipe we can't take advantage of. Gimli is super cool, but not a human. And Increasing Devotion is a little much for what we are hoping to do. Instead, replace them with Cemetery Protector, which can make us a human just for playing a land. Thraben Doomsayer, which can create us a creature just by tapping. And Worthy Knight, which makes us a human when we cast a knight spell, of which there are plenty in the deck already. There's also a lot we could be doing to lean into our human typal theme. There aren't many human lords to pump our board, so let's cut Course of Ire, Crown of Gondor, and Visions of Glory in favor of some anthems like the new Flowering of the White Tree and Sanctuary Lockdown to pump our entire team. But the real big get would be Rick Steadfast Leader. I know, this Legacy All-Star isn't the cheapest, and some people still detest to play with it for various reasons, but an in-universe reprint of the card should be coming soon. And in a human typal deck, you don't get better than this double pump and 2 abilities to share across all of your humans. Now the next deck is the Abzan deck Food and Fellowship, led by our partner commanders Frodo Adventurous Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant. Sam makes you food at the beginning of combat and makes it easier to eat food, while Frodo eats Sam's meals and is a means to continually be tempted by the ring. If you're tempted more than twice, he also turns into a draw engine too. Not bad for a combined 5 mana across 2 creatures. And I'm gonna get this out of the way right now, but get Academy Manufactor in this deck ASAP. You make so many food tokens so often in this list that turning them into clues and treasures also is such an overwhelming advantage you'll be basically unstoppable. There are multiple cards like Farmer Cotton, or Rosie Cotton, or Pippin Warden of Isengard who make food tokens for basically 0 investment. It can turn Mirkwood Bats into a legitimate and fast win condition if unchecked. And leaning into the volume of tokens you can make in this list, I'd want to take the deck in that direction, eliminating some of the high end of the mana curve in favor of some more synergistic pieces that put you leagues ahead of your opponents. Remove Woodfall Primus, Eagles of the North, and Land Royal in favor of synergy win cons like Marionette Master, Nettlecyst, or Nader's Nightblade, all either rewarding you for sacrificing tokens you want anyway, or suiting up an evasive beater for massive damage. And if you really want to invest in this deck, token doublers are the way to go. They really are that good. Mondrak Glory Dominus, Doubling Season, and Parallel Lives all turn your game plan up to 11 in short order. They're pricey, and we may see reprints coming soon, but they're worth adding over just about anything in this list right now. Pythian Rope, Fumigate, and Harmonize would be my first picks for cuts. But this deck is my favorite of the 4. I just love making tokens. Lastly, we have our Simic Elf deck, Elven Council, an elf ball deck with elements of voting and politicking at the table. The deck is led by Galadriel Elven Queen, a 4-mana elf noble. This 4/5 has Will of the Council. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if another elf entered the battlefield under your control this turn, starting with you, each player votes for Dominion or Guidance. If Dominion gets more votes, the ring tempts you, then you put a +1/+1 counter on your ring bearer. If Guidance gets more votes, or the vote is tied, draw a card. Similar to Éowyn in that we want to be making an elf before combat on each of our turns, but nowhere near as versatile as Éowyn, as she can't attack and doesn't really build up our board herself. And there are, unfortunately, very few ways to make elves in the deck without just casting creatures. That's pretty disappointing, and getting the deck to where I think it should be would require some significant updates. There are only 25 creatures in the deck and only 20 of them are elves. It's entirely possible to go multiple turns with your commander out and never trigger her. Instead, I'd really recommend pivoting the deck to focus on Círdan the Shipwright. This 5-mana Simic Elf Noble is a 3/4 with Vigilance and Secret Counsel. Whenever Círdan the Shipwright enters the battlefield or attacks, each player secretly votes for a player. Then those votes are revealed. Each player draws a card for each vote they received. Each player who received no votes may put a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. Much easier to trigger reliably, this turns into a sneaky game of pointing fingers and voting, with potential big benefits for everyone at the table who got votes or didn't get votes. This does make it less of a good deck if we focus on Círdan, but does make it more of a fun deck, with the potential for everyone to show and tell big permanents into play. But I think that's a fun concept. I'd adjust the deck accordingly. I'd make it a Simic Voltron deck, adding in big splashy equipment like the Kaldra set and Kaldra Completed, in the chance that I get to put permanents into play. And getting to make Círdan basically unblockable with Trailblazer's Boots, or Access Tunnel, or Rogue's Passage means you get to trigger this reliably. And being able to put a massive creature from your hand onto the battlefield works here too, from Praetors like Jin Gitaxias and Vorinclex, through to Eldrazi like Breaker of Armies. Even Eldrazi Conscription to smash onto Círdan while he's attacking for a nasty surprise to the defending player. That's a big power toughness boost. There's a lot of work for this deck to hum like the others do straight out of the box, but I think it's got good bones and can be picked apart to move in a few different directions. Let me know what y'all think about this format in the comments, and if these quick updates to these awesome decks works for you or not. Thanks as always to my amazing sponsors, Moxfield. They are the best deck building platform in the world and make it easier than ever to import deck lists, edit, and share with everyone. Check out my profile, linked in the description, and give me a follow while you're there. Be sure to hit all those good buttons, like, share, comment, and subscribe to join the Brew Crew and never miss tune-ups and deck techs. And, of course, as always folks, good luck and have fun.